Hey everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder, the place where we decode the secrets of corporate America. And believe me, this report has a few secrets to spill, especially after that gigantic acquisition. We are diving deep into SYNOPSYS Incorporated's latest annual report for the fiscal year ending the 31st of October, 2025. This report is huge, and it details their financial health, their risks, and their future game plan following some massive moves. SYNOPSYS is a big player in the technology world, providing crucial software that helps design the chips powering everything from your phone to supercomputers. Now, before we get into the nitty-gritty, if you appreciate getting straight insights from these corporate documents, make sure you are subscribed. We also have a Discord community linked in the description below, where we break down these filings and discuss their implications. Let's talk numbers because that is where we see the real story. SYNOPSYS reported revenues of $7.1 billion, an increase of 15% compared to the previous year. A big chunk of that growth, $756.6 million to be exact, comes from their acquisition of Ansys Incorporated. They also mentioned weakness in China, a 22% drop in revenue excluding Ansys. This is partly due to export restrictions. Looking at their revenue breakdown, design automation, which covers their chip design software and Ansys products, saw a significant jump of 26% in 2025. This segment now makes up over 60% of their total revenue. On the flip side, their design IP segment, which provides pre-designed circuits, actually saw an 8% decrease in revenue. They blame this on those China export restrictions and weaker demand from a major customer. Their upfront products revenue, which includes things like hardware, saw a 12% increase. This is interesting because upfront revenue is recognized immediately, whereas their time-based revenue, which is more like a subscription, sees revenue recognized over time. Maintenance and service revenue, a steadier income stream, saw a massive 41% increase. This is largely due to the Ansys acquisition, bringing in a lot more customers needing support. Now, you can't just look at revenue, you have to look at the cost to make that revenue. Their total cost of revenue and operating expenses jumped 29%. A big reason for this is the Ansys merger, which added $664.5 million in employee costs and a whopping $457.8 million in amortization expenses from the new intangible assets they acquired. This means the cost to run the business really ramped up. Companies like SYNOPSYS live and die by innovation, so research and development is huge. R&D expenses went up 19%, driven by more employees, mostly from the Ansys acquisition and organic growth. SYNOPSYS is spending a lot to stay ahead of the curve. Sales and marketing also saw a big jump of 25%, primarily again due to the Ansys merger, increasing headcount needed to sell their expanded product line. It seems they are investing heavily to integrate and grow their new business. This is a big one. Amortization of acquired intangible assets, meaning the cost of spreading out the value of those acquired brands, patents, and customer lists over time shot up by 1088%. This is a direct consequence of the Ansys acquisition, highlighting the massive value of intangible assets they now own. They initiated a new restructuring plan called the 2026 plan, anticipating charges between $300 and $350 million. This suggests they are streamlining operations and making significant changes within the company post-merger to improve efficiency and focus on growth areas. With all that debt taken on for the Ansys merger, their interest expense exploded. It went from $36.8 million to $446.7 million, an 11-14% increase. That is a huge financial burden to manage. On the other side, they had a significant gain of $548.9 million from divesting their optical solutions group business as part of the Ansys merger regulatory requirements. This helped offset some of the acquisition costs. Now let's look at goodwill. This is the difference between the purchase price and the fair value of net assets acquired. After the Ansys merger, their goodwill ballooned from $3.4 billion to an astonishing $26.9 billion. This shows just how much they paid for the perceived value of Ansys beyond its tangible assets. Their intangible assets also saw a massive increase from $195 million to over $12 billion again, largely due to the Ansys acquisition. These are things like technology customer lists and brand names. Their total assets on the balance sheet surged from $13 billion to over $48 billion. This massive jump is almost entirely due to the Ansys merger. They've become a much larger company overnight. And with that growth comes debt. Their long-term debt is now over $13 billion, a huge increase from just $15.6 million in the prior year, signaling the financing required for the Ansys deal. Looking at cash flow investing activities shows a massive outflow of nearly $16 billion in 2025 compared to a positive inflow the year before. This is primarily from the Ansys acquisition, accounting for $16.5 billion. Financing activities show a huge inflow of $13.4 billion in 2025, drive thanks to the borrowing for the Ansys merger. It is a clear picture of how they funded this massive transaction. Now about risks, they are heavily exposed to macroeconomic uncertainty, global trade policy, and government regulations like export controls, especially concerning China. These factors could really impact their sales and growth. They face scrutiny and restrictions, particularly around their business in China, and are constantly monitoring changes in trade regulations. This is a major challenge that could limit their global reach. They also face intense competition. New companies are emerging and existing competitors are innovating quickly. If SYNOPSYS doesn't keep innovating and providing value at a lower cost, its products could become obsolete. This competition, alongside the complexity of chip design, means customers are always looking for better products sooner and cheaper. SYNOPSYS must balance this demand with its own need for investment in research and development. Cybersecurity is also a significant concern. They acknowledge the increasing threat of cyber attacks and have robust programs in place, but there is always a risk of breaches that could damage their reputation and operations. Their global operations also present risks, including economic instability, political uncertainty, and weaker intellectual property protection in some regions. The complex international landscape requires constant vigilance. Now, looking at these results more broadly, SYNOPSYS has made a massive strategic bet with the Ansys acquisition. They are clearly aiming to dominate the entire engineering, simulation, and design landscape from silicon to systems. The increased debt and interest expenses are a significant concern. However, the revenue growth and the strategic positioning appear strong. Their emphasis on AI and R&D shows they are investing in the future, making them a formidable competitor. However, the weakness in their design IP segment and the ongoing challenges with China export controls are significant headwinds they need to address. The restructuring plan signals they are aware of inefficiencies and are taking steps to optimize. In conclusion, SYNOPSYS is now a much larger and more complex company. The Ansys merger is a bold move that could pay off handsomely if they can successfully integrate and leverage the combined strengths. But the financial risks, especially from the increased debt, are substantial, and the competitive pressures are relentless. It will be crucial to watch their execution, especially their ability to drive growth in the design automation segment and navigate the geopolitical challenges. Alright, that is our breakdown of SYNOPSYS' latest filing. What is your take on these numbers and what they signal for the company's future? Drop your thoughts in the comments. If this analysis was valuable, hitting that like button really helps, and subscribe for more deep dives. Don't forget to check out the Discord in the description. Thanks for watching, see you next time.